There are things that are going to happen in our future that you can kind of plan for. And nobody expects things to happen today. But we know over an extended period of time, there's a probability that things are going to happen. We're just going to slow down, or we're going to have some health challenges. If there's two of you, if you're married, the probability is much greater that you do go through some of those health challenges as we age. It's just part of the deal. But how do you prepare for that? How do you prepare emotionally? Think about what we've talked about in terms of your life after work, right? The physical, the emotional, the mental, and the financial. How do you really prepare for the unknown? Adam Harter and I are going to break down some things on Consider This program today, where we talk about preparing for that unknown. The financial side, the surprises that are there, but some of the emotional and mental challenges that come along with it. Stay tuned for Consider This program. Well, good morning and welcome back to Consider This program. I'm your host, Joe Clark.
And I'm Adam Harter.
We are happy to have you guys along. Thanks for making the time for us today. Hey, and don't forget, if you're listening to this on the radio show, happy to have you along. There are actually 4 segments to the show. You can listen to them all on anywhere you can go to get podcasts. Hey, while you're there, please don't forget to subscribe. But you can go to iTunes, Spotify, wherever you listen to podcasts, type in Consider This program, get subscribed. We're more than happy to have you. And if you like videos, you can go to our website at yourlifeafterwork.com and actually watch this show taped. If that suits your interest a little bit more. We are working on finding your peace today, and one of those really is preparing for the unknown. And I think the unknown for anybody is scary. What's it going to look like? What's the IRS going to do from a tax code standpoint? That concerns a lot of people. What's going to happen in the economy or the market? That concerns a lot of people. I think we have an anticipation of change that concerns people. But one of those biggest issues really is health. And how do we deal with that mentally and emotionally? So Adam, we're going to go into the world of incapacity and a little bit of guardianship. So you and I have a challenge. There are people that I've taken care of for more than 30 years of my life now. The Financial Enhancement Group is going to be 24 years old this year, right? There are clearly people that we take care of that aren't as sharp today and making their own decisions as they once were. What do you tell them?
Oh,
yeah. Just kind of threw that one out at you, didn't I?
Oh, wow. That one, that's about the only time you can find me to dance, Yeah. Otherwise, I'm going to be a wallflower. And even on that topic it is, because there's not a whole lot you have to tell them. But here's the thing. We have a job and we have to look them in the eye and tell them the truth. And usually, though, it's not them you're telling, it's a spouse.
Or their kids.
It's
one of the challenges that I have, and we have a program at the Financial Enhancement Group that allows us to be a corporate trustee for people because of this very issue. I did not start driving the trustee program home. We call it a financial fiduciary and family friend is the title of the program. I did not start that because of people dying and making sure that their trusts were fulfilled. That's part of my responsibility as a trustee. It's part of FEG's promise as being a corporate trustee. But I started it because I watched these people, multiple families that we've taken care of, that just begin to make decisions that harmed themselves. And what we see happening in life is that people make people come in with a situation of fear. They've heard because of the news and TV and kind of blowing things up that somebody has stolen money, that kids have stolen money, or nannies have stolen money, or advisors have stolen money. And though we know all 3 of those are true, I will tell you in my 33 years of doing this, many more times I've seen people harm themselves than somebody else harm them. And
that's fascinating. So knowing that, what steps do you take to help get ahead of that?
Well, interestingly enough, we're having that conversation right now. And it's something that I work on all the time in my trust. And I'll tell you a funny story because you don't know this, but and just in full disclosure, Adam's one of my. I have 3 wise men. And nobody knows who the third one is, but just because I don't want anybody to plot against me. No, just kidding. But Adam and my brother are 2 of them. And so we had this situation. I moved to a new house 2 years ago. And I hate bills. I have more, I had more money or more month than I had money the last time I had a budget, other than the business one that, we have. But, and so I always pay the Anderson City utilities electronically, like I pay everything but the church. And I always pay them more than I need to pay them. So when we moved into the new house, there was like a $2,000 credit, and it's kind of like, life's good, right? All of a sudden, we get a disconnect notice, right? And Barb comes in and kind of puts it on the desk a little sheepishly, and she says, "Honey, is there a problem?" And I go, "No, honey, there's no problem." And I look, and sure enough, it's about $150 more a month for this house than the old house, and we'd gone through through the extra amount of money. Yes, you'd have a cow, but we'd gone through the extra amount of money, right? And so Barb did what Barb's supposed to do. She called John. John called and said, we had a disconnect notice. Everything okay? And, we kind of laughed but that's one of the first signs is that people don't pay bills. Okay. And so what happens with my successor trustees, in most trusts that people have, there is something in there that says if a doctor or a judge say that you are mentally incapacitated, then you're mentally incapacitated. You have no ability to fight. You have no ability to argue, right? Now, your kids have drug you by the arm. Now, imagine this, right? We have a CFA. He's responsible, along with me, for over $600 million, right? We know an awful lot about money. This has been we are both addicts, right? This is our life, right? And now your kids, who are not CFAs, who have not been through what we've been through, are going to grab you by the arm, and they're going to take you to a doctor, and the doctor is going to determine whether you can do nothing on your own tomorrow or whether you can do some things. Wow. And I think that is absolutely ludicrous. I call it a nuclear option, and nobody will do it.
In your experience, how often has that happened?
It hasn't.
Oh, wow. So no kid, no child. No.
I've seen it happen one other time. The guy just passed away, and it was because he was actually put into an institution. In that case, I've seen it happen, right? And there have probably been a few others as I think about it. I've seen people take away your car keys. We used to talk about your grandpa, right? I've seen people, it's kind of like, okay, it's time to give up the keys. Yeah. But taking the checkbook from you, is Andrea going to figure out that you're no longer thinking like you were thinking? Is Barb going to walk up and go, Because remember, generally,
it's going to be too late.
Well, it's going to be too late, and generally we slip together. Right? Yeah. When you start to mentally slide, they tend to be mentally sliding, right? And you get into that challenge. And so I've come up with a list, but it's because I have absolute trust in the three of you that you would do this in the right way, right? That if I'm unable to do this, then remove me from this responsibility. That doesn't mean I can't decide who I'm donating money to, where I'm going on vacation. Right? It's not a nuclear option. So you're more likely to say, Joe, you probably shouldn't be on the allocation team if you can't figure out how to pay the electric bill, right? That doesn't mean that I can't decide whether I'm going to Florida or Texas for vacation.
Yeah. And Joe, I've being a CFA, our focus is on investment management, but I try to attend the wealth managements as well. And so I've heard a lot of different conferences and a lot of different, and this is really a unique thing that I hear, and I'm glad to have the benefit of hearing. So those are the mental ailments. What do you do when you've got forthcoming physical ailments?
The physical one, in our experience that you and I have been through, we've had people where they couldn't get to a closing or they couldn't get to a signing. And then it's pretty easy to sign off a limited power of attorney, even inside of a trust, to give you the capacity to sign my name. If I'm laid up in traction or if I'm in a coma from a car wreck, temporarily you can take control. It's pretty well stated inside of the document. The challenge is there are people who are physically incapacitated who go back to being normal. Generally, once you've started to lose that mental capacity, it doesn't usually come back, right? And that's where you really have to work it. And it's, and Adam is right. My first trust was written in 2002 by a friend of mine, 22 pages long. And 90% of it dealt with what happened when I die, right? There was a page and a half dedicated to what happens when I'm still here. And I will assure you that the new document deals much more with while I'm here than when I'm not.
I honestly can't think of a single instance where the remedy didn't involve a court, doctors or judge saying otherwise.
And I don't want that. I don't. I want to make it so that, Kaylee and Kendra and Barb, if necessary, can call you guys and say, hey, this is something that's going on, or something that you see that's going on at work, and where those things can be made. And that's really why we created the financial fiduciary and the family friend, was to help people through that. I know kids don't want to take checkbooks, but let's design this in a way where we can make decisions that are not nuclear, where everything is taken away, right? And when I talk to attorneys, they go, Joe, that is a genius idea. Nobody else has ever thought of it, and here's why. And it's because you can always have a bad apple. We talked about a few weeks ago on one of the shows that the more power that I give you as successor trustee, the more dangerous this can be, because you can go away from what I would have done, right? The more restrictive I make it on how you're able to operate, right, the less you can deal with change. So you get one choice or the other, right? You either trust somebody's heart or you don't, right? And the families that we represent at FEG that I take care of say, Joe, as long as you're there, I'm not worried. In terms of being the trustee part, we tend to want to name people as opposed to corporations, and I get that, right? So my promise to them is making sure that the process is in place, that we have the right trustees that are in place, and that's what I'm working on, as we do this whole program. But we all need a solution. The longer we live, and remember, we're not all living that much longer. We're just, more of us are living longer. Don't mess up life expectancy. But the longer that you're around, the more likely you're going to need somebody to help make some decisions for you. It's a complex world. And as the military says, it's VUCA. If you haven't heard of that, it's volatile, it's uncertain, right? It's ambiguous, and it's complex. I kind of got the two of the letters out of order. But when the wall came down, they said, hey, we were fighting one enemy, right? We're fighting the Soviet Union. The wall came down, and the military recognized they were going to be fighting many enemies. And when Adam and I go to battle every day in the marketplace, we're using our discipline, our training, if you will, but we are fighting many different battles that are out there. Whether that be economic numbers changes, a CEO making a mistake, a bad merger acquisition, a good opportunity, something that changed in the rules. And that's why we have so many people who are dedicated to watching it every day, so you can have a life, right? I mean, our job is to help you reduce financial regrets, and we take care of people who don't want to worry about their money. So we do it. I could not do for my own money what I do for 1,055, 65 families, whatever it is today. 800-928-4001. Give us a call. I'm happy to sit down with you and talk about your next steps. 800-928-4001.